Good morning, beautiful people of planet Earth and all other interdimensional entities and all sentient beings. Let's just cover everything and every living creature on Earth and across the cosmos. Why not? Everything is oneness when you look at life holistically. Although some people do grate on one's nerves, don't they? It's hard to feel oneness when someone's grating on your nerves. But clearly I'm not grating on your nerves or you wouldn't be watching my videos. It's a bit odd, people of Earth, but it is what it is. So with that little bit of dry sardonic wit, I wanted to read to you Flying with Shamans in Fairy Tales and Myths by Nana Nauvolt. And on the back it says, she's an artist, author and researcher of shamanic worlds. She has many years' experience with shamans in the Peruvian Amazon area, Nepal and Africa. Her published books include Ecstatic Trance, a workbook, Der Gesang des Schwarzen Jaguars, Song of the Black Jaguar, a novel, Bärenkraft und Jaguar-Medizin, die bewusstseinsöffnenden Werkzeuge der Schamanen, Bear Power and Jaguar Medicine, the consciousness-opening tools of the shamans. Readers may learn more about her work at her websites www.visionary-art.de and www.ecstatictrance.com. So I stumbled across this book looking for interesting books that I can read to you here via my laptop, which I may not have access to for much longer because it says I'm not registered or some weird shit, which is not correct because it was gifted to me and all that was taken care of when it was gifted to me. So it's not functioning properly, and as a consequence I can't download Windows 11 and I won't be able to, I think what I just received a message just now when I booted up, may not be able to, use this laptop without accessing Windows 11. I'm not sure. I may still be able to fumble along as I often do. But anyway, what I'm whining about here is there's a chance that I may not have a laptop for much longer. And, new laptops cost a lot of money and I'm trying to get out of debt. I'm almost completely out of debt. So it's taken me years to pay everything off and get back into, being debt-free. So I really resent, like I'm due for a new iPhone too. It's another $2,000-3,000 worth. And a new computer's $5,000. That would put me into debt for $8,000. So very reluctant to do that, given it's taken me years to get back down to the 0 point field. So I'm going to be fumbling along for as long as I can with the equipment I have, and when they die, I guess I'll have to go into debt again. Grinds my gears, people of Earth. Really grinds my gears. Anyway, so I may not be able to do these, readings to you every day as I do for much longer, is what I'm saying. And that's negative thinking because I might fumble along okay. We'll just see what the multiverse gifts me, am I right? It can be astonishing at times what magic the multiverse creates for me so that I can keep functioning in my poverty blues and kind of atrophied ways, but it's amazing how I've been carried along, tucked under the wings of earth angels a multitude of times. I'm benefiting from one of the gifts from one of my earth angels right now. She was also responsible for this computer actually, the lovely air conditioner. So I'm grateful But I just have to work with what I've got, and if I don't have things, I just have to suck it up, buttercup, and square my shoulders and just find another way, or carry on another way. Anyway, the opening preface to this book is, all our legends are people's experiences. These are true stories. The myths of our ancestors are not fanciful stories or lies. If people of our age believe that many of these episodes are not true, it is only because they have less concentrated life juices than the elders from whom we quote them. I like that. In other words, we're watered down and dumbed down and dulled down and lost our magic, am I right? This is part of the reason why I present these stories to you each day, including for 365 days last year, my own ramblings and musings that I post up on Facebook and vocal media and Instagram from time to time. It's important to have our truth and our stories preserved. We're coming into a world where AI can fabricate even our voices and our faces and copycat us and steal our life force right from under us, steal our truth and our stories. And I've been happily feeding them for a long time. I'm very well aware of that too. Lots of information. They could practically clone me. All they need is a bit of spit out of my mouth or some other stem cells from somewhere else, and they could clone me and have all my stories all ready to go, all up on YouTube to form my personality and identity. And you wouldn't even know what was real and what wasn't real, but I would know if I'm still alive at that time. I would know. Ooh, would I be livid if that happened to me or anyone. Human rights, people. Preserve your humanness and your human rights. Stay human and hold on to your stories and your lore and your magic and your cultural motifs and your identity for as long as you're here. Be in it. Anyway, that was the Greenland folk storyteller Oasakak. Right, I won't bother reading all the contents, list of contents. We'll just get into it, babies. Introduction. The myth of the origin of all life. Many people rather not work with or think about the intangible. By the way, I finished these last night at quarter to 1 in the morning. I worked on them for 15 hours yesterday. I'm really exhausted, but can you see them? They've come out really quite wonderful. Very proud of them. A lot of work, 6 days in the making. Or 5 because I had a day off. 6 days in the making, people are there. But anyway, I'm proud of myself. Just wanted to share that with you. It's been a journey, shamanic journey. The kalakas, the dancing skeletons. Life, death, life, people are spiraled under. I really spiraled right down into a deep breakdown, kind of breakthrough that I go into on average about 4 times a year, but it's been a couple already this year. Well, I've been through a lot this year. Charlie's loss and all the other awful things. So I had a massive breakdown and told my psychiatrist about it on Wednesday at my debrief. And then yesterday, got up before 9, but just bloomed and emanated and stoically with great stamina and determination. So I had to cast these little silver hearts and then set the little London blue topaz. That was the last thing I did last night. Oh, that was difficult. Very, very difficult. But I'll get better with practice. Anyway, it was a complete journey. Exhausted. I am exhausted. But anyway, I just wanted to quickly segue with that because although I'm exhausted, I'm quite proud of myself. This one's not hanging quite right. I'm going to have to play with it later. Get it to face the front. This one's fine. I wonder why that one's been recalcitrant. There's always something with earrings. There's always one that wants to go rogue. That's the Tanya one, the rogue one. Always running amok, going a bit rogue, not fitting in, being complicit and compliant. Babies. But I'll give this one a little twist so it sits better somehow. Got to work it out. Right, that's enough about the earrings, but I'm very proud of myself and it's important that I share my small achievements. They don't make me any money, they don't help me find a loving partner of my own that wants me, but they show off my creativity and my intelligence and my artistry and my determination to thrive, and they make me happy. They make me happy. And at the end of the day, it's about making yourself feel like you're not a complete useless schmuck, and that you can do things for yourself and make yourself happy and accomplished. Yay! Anyway, where were we? We'll start from the beginning. Many people rather not work with or think about the intangible, and maybe that is why we know so little about the heavens and the earth, of the origin, humans and animals. Maybe, maybe not. Because it is hard to fathom what will happen to us and where we shall go once we are no longer alive. There is a dark veil over all first beginnings and endings. No, there is not. The veil has been lifted, people of earth. If you haven't seen it yet, you've chosen to remain ignorant and blind and deaf and dumb. Just saying. But Mama T has died 15 times in this incarnation already, so I actually almost wonder what it'll be like when I do finally get to die. Hopefully it'll be wonderful because I've been both embracing it and flinging it off at the same time in the same space in the same body sometimes. Simultaneously, it's been a dance, people of earth. It's been a passionate tango since my arrival in here in this, well, when I arrived it was in a tiny little form, but you know what I mean. Since my arrival on this planet. Anyway, where were we? How can we learn more about the most impressive mystery that surrounds us and keeps us alive? And yesterday really, really inspired me to work on these earrings, even when I struggled a couple of times. I almost fainted at 10 o'clock at night. I was so bloody exhausted. But I pushed through, and I pushed through, and I pushed through, and now I'm wearing them. Right. I'll repeat that sentence. You can tell I'm tired when I go on my little meanderings. How can we learn more about the most impressive mystery that surrounds us and keeps us alive? About all that we call air, heaven and sea, and the meaning of human life in all the corners of the earth, as well as that of all the animals, birds and fish in all the land, seas and lakes. In the Ojibwa language, the Central American tribe, the Ojibwa, they say, they greet all our relations, and by that they mean human and animal and fish and mountain, all of existence. I love that. I should incorporate it in my greetings instead of say all sentient beings and all interdimensional entities. I should just do the Ojibwa greeting. What is it? Ana, name, Ana. Forget how to say hello. Thank you is miigwech. I remember that. I can't believe I forgot how to say hello. Oh, bonjour, bonjour. And then they say all our relations. I love that. I think I might have been Native American in another lifetime. Maybe. I can't be certain. But so I kind of made a little bit of a study of that at one time. There's a wonderful man on Facebook, James Bukalich, and he teaches Ojibwa language. So I watch many of his videos quite avidly, and he's got a beautiful spirit, that man. Just even the way he expresses and teaches the words. It's a beautiful soul. I like him. Very kind soul. You can tell when someone's a enlightened or elevated soul because they just emanate peace and joy and light and goodness, and it's lovely. Like my little Rati, my little cleaning lady, came to me to clean yesterday, and she heard me yelling at myself that I was stupid because I was doing something that was really odd and out of character, trying to make jump rings in a really weird, odd way. After a while I realised, what are you doing? Why are you even doing that? It's not how you make jump rings. So I started yelling at myself in frustration. I was making the ring for this bit here, and I got myself so upset that I was yelling at myself. She very sweetly came to the doorway and said, "You're not stupid, Tanya. Don't talk to yourself like that." She's just so loving and kind and maternal. She's a devout Muslim woman from Indonesia. Oh, she's beautiful. I love you, Rati. You see, I don't judge where anyone comes from on earth or what their religions are. If they're a beautiful soul, they're a beautiful soul. And that's all I need to know about that. I don't care how you worship your gods or what job you do or whether you're married or single or divorced, or just love is love is love is love, however it manifests. Am I right? Real loves are rare as hen's teeth. So when you meet beautiful souls like that, cherish them and honour them and protect and preserve them and try and keep them in your life because they're rare. You won't find many like that. I really, I want to cry when I think about her beauty and her sweetness. She's not the only one in my life like that. I'm very blessed to have wonderful people in my life now, but there were decades and decades of the most worst, most life-threatening, most sordid, most evil, most putrescent monsters that I almost didn't survive at People of Earth. So that's why I get a bit emotional when I talk about the lovely ones now. So you see, I was kept alive for this moment. 11:01 a.m. Make-A-Wish, People of Earth. Right. I know, I'm a bit childlike at times, but it's part of my shamanic life journeys. You need to know how to tap into your inner child and delight in everyday magic. And sometimes that magic is manifested by simply making a wish or delighting in the fairy realms around you when you have little tiny encounters. as happened yesterday. My scrap silver that had been missing for about 2 months came back, and I was able to make these little sacred hearts. So I joked that the fairies approved of me remaking these earrings, because I lost one of the original ones at Byron just after my birthday last year. They approved it so much they gave me back my missing silver. Now, childlike and nonsensical as that sounds, I had looked for that little bag of silver which I knew I left in the laundry for about 2 months, and it turned up, the little bag, on the floor of the laundry. As soon as I walked in the front door, I saw them sitting on the floor at the base of a cabinet. I've walked past that cabinet every day for nearly 2 months, and they weren't there, and suddenly they were there. So that's the fairy realms, gifting back what they took for I don't know, just to be mischievous and irksome, I guess. And I have a feeling why they gave it back. I was standing near the fairy corner of my back garden yesterday morning making a video, and I was saying, I asked permission to go and weed, and I told the fairies, if you don't want me coming into your quiet little sacred space that's designated your area, you need to keep the weeds down. And I said, I'm very happy they have indeed kept the weeds down, so they're working in cooperation with me. So I don't have to go in there and invade their space and do weeding. And I said, isn't that lovely? And then I was having some quiet little thoughts about how I miss my bird Charlie, and how we sat one time, not long before she died, in the fairy realm corner of the garden when I was weeding, and I was sort of thinking about that, and I said, well, you've taken my Charlie's spirit, and you're looking after her for me, and I'm grateful, but I do miss her. And I kind of said, well, the wild birds, I get lots of visits from the wild kookaburras now. For weeks after Charlie died, about 2 weeks, which was unusual actually, I had daily visits from the king parrots. So these were all messages from the spirit world telling me, don't worry, Mama, I still love you and I'm around, and here's all the birdies coming to comfort you. And I want to cry when I think about it, but Charlie was a very big spirit. You've probably seen her with me in other videos previously to her death on the 26th of January, how close we were and how she was always with me and how wonderful she really was. She was a much bigger spirit than you expect to find in the body of a little ailing rainbow lorikeet whose health was not all that great actually. So again, reinforced the deep love. And then these little scrap silver being returned to me so I could make these yesterday. I thought, right, the timelines are shifting now back into a more direct course for me to forge ahead in life and build my life back up and manifest all my dreams, babies, reclaiming my lost earring. And they're not exactly the same as the originals because I'm not very good, couldn't copy them exactly, but they're still quite naive art and I like them. So anyway, that's another long segue, but I'm trying to explain about childlike wonder, staying in touch with magic and the fairy realms, or the ancient gods and the mythologies, and our earth and each other, and delighting in each other's playfulness and inner child, seeing each other as we truly are, as spirits having physical forms, not the other way around. We forget that we are always and forever, beyond our looks and what jobs we do and how much money we have and the clothes we wear or the earrings we make or how we wear our hair. We are spirit. over and beyond all things. And for me, that gives me great peace. I hope it gives you peace, my beautiful YouTube audience. Anyway, I continue with the story. No one can know anything for sure about the beginning of all life. But those who have eyes and ears and remember what the elders tell us still have at their disposal some kind of wisdom that can feed the hungry mind. That is why we are always listening with open ears when someone tells us about the experiences of past generations, which I used to love to do as a child. My mother thought it was weird because whenever we went to a party, I would gravitate to the oldest person in the room and I would ask them about their life experiences. And I would sit and listen to them tell me what it was like, how much things cost when they were a child, or what games they played, or who their friends in school were, and watch the lights emanate out of their eyes as they remembered their childhood or their youth. And I derived great comfort and solace from that. I was hungry for it. I was wanting connection to a past that I could not possibly even imagine because it was a different generation and a different time. I've always been that way, not quite grounded in this reality, always seeking either the past or the future. And it's been quite a journey to learn to practice being present and mindfulness in the present moment. As many times in my childhood I had to escape that because of the need to disassociate. So when I'm present, I'm fully present, but when I'm not, I'm not, and I could be anywhere inside my mind. And people that love me dearly and know me well know that when I'm not here and I'm elsewhere, not to call me back too quickly, just to let me just have my little meanderings. I come back, but it's not to grab me or, pull me back into the present moment. Because I actually need, as a shaman, I need to be in those other realms at times, sometimes for my own mental health or spiritual health or safety, bring messaging back for myself or, my community. Not that I was listened to with the COVID plot, which is horrifying beyond belief, but those kind of messagings were gifted to me literally by the gods. Which God? I don't know. Or to say the Holy One in all manifestations of holiness. But when I get those messages, and if I tell you something, sit up and take notice and bloody well obey to the best of your ability, because that wasn't, here we are again, 11:11 a.m. So before it was 11:01, now we have 11:11. If you wish to, you can make another wish, but it's telling me that I keep seeing number sequences. Today's going to be yet another spiritual day for me. Trying to decide if I'm going dancing or not this evening. I was thinking about pulling back and not going dancing for a while, but I need to dance. I need to have that musical wild outlet, and I need to dance. So I'll see how I feel this evening. If I'm not too tired, I'll push myself out there and do my dance, no matter what, no matter who, because it's part of my spiritual work and walk also. Anyway, where were we? Yes. Wisdom that can feed the hungry mind. That is why we are always listening with open ears when someone tells us about the experiences of past generations. And through all those ancient myths, some are saying powwow, it is Kinda, maybe, not quite like a powwow, because I put a lot of spiritual energy into my dance, but maybe you could call it a powwow. That's cultural appropriation. I'm a white woman, Jewish, New Zealander, Australian citizen of German, Polish, English, Irish, Scottish descent. I'm very, very white, but I have a bit of an indigenous soul. I don't know when that came in. I think maybe at one of my near deaths about, 25 years ago, I think, with the first strangulation. I'm not sure when that came in actually, but it's when I started incorporating voodoo practices into my spirituality, incorporating Native American practices, being more conscious of that I'm not just a white woman with big hobbit feet lumbering about on planet Earth. I'm a soul and a spirit, and all philosophies and all magic that is powerful and benevolent, I incorporate into my being, into my armouring, I guess, my toolbox, my tools of my shamanic armouring is to incorporate these belief systems and practices to the best of my abilities, given I don't actually come from those cultures and I'm not raised in that culture. So I know it's weird, and it's probably weird to people that are indigenous too. What is this woman trying to do? But it worked for me. It kept me alive. It sustained me. That and my Jewish, faith and practices for 3 decades did help me a lot to keep me here in this body, mind and spirit. But in the last 10 years or so, I've gone more into shamanic and witchy alternative magical practices because I don't have a congregation anymore. There was too much othering and viciousness that I endured for 36 years actually. So, no, it's not 36 years because I've only lived here for 37 in August. About 30 years. I put up with a lot of crap, and when I'm done, I'm done. It took me 30 years to be done though. That's how important it was for me to identify and be a practicing Jew. So now I'm a practicing shaman, witch, Jew, Viking, depends on any given day, how the gods wish me to express my spirituality or what gets channeled through me, which particular cultural background it might come from. So it's complicated and weird, doesn't make sense to anyone but me. Sometimes I don't always understand it, but I just know to accept with grace and be in tune with my gods, because it keeps me alive and it's kept me sane all these years, by the way. I mean, I'm a bit squidgy with my complex PTSD, let's be real here, just on the tail end of another breakdown, but I did well yesterday, working with my Mexican bruja calaca earrings. So yesterday the magic was from Mexico. You can tell what mood I'm in or what culture I'm resonating with, the vibration, if not the actual practice, by what earrings I'm wearing, by the way, too. So I'm a funny old bird. But somebody out there loves me and accepts me the way I am, and I'm grateful for that too. Those somebodies who love me in all my weird ways. Right. So I segued at past generations, talking about how I used to sit at the feet of elderly people And through all those ancient myths which we keep alive from our ancestors, the dead are talking. Yes, they are, asking to be remembered and honoured and revered. We communicate with all sages from long ago, and we, who apparently know so little, will listen willingly to them. Adapted from the storytelling of Inuit Apakak of the Noatak River, written down by Knud Rasmussen. So you can see why I have this deep love for shamanism, because it resonates with everything I was already instinctively doing as a child. Sitting with the elders, disassociating due to my then quite fresh ground zero traumas, but in the disassociating I would remove myself into the gold curtains and literally enter into other worlds so that I was not present with the predator of the family, and on it goes and on it goes. But that was a valuable toolkit that I was able to utilise to help me survive that experience. What was the other thing I used to do as a child? Yes, I used to always be fascinated with the fairy realms even as a child, and that was nurtured and kind of brought to the fore by my wonderful neighbour down the road, who was like a mother to me, Mrs. June Robertson, who was of Norse descent. Both her parents were Norwegian, so Viking. So she would teach me about trolls and the pixies at the bottom of the garden and all the other wonderful stories about Thor and Odin, the gods, and always taught with such sweetness and love and comfort, making me feel safe and always telling me how loved I am, even if not by other children in my classrooms or little bullies down the road that we were always fighting as children. But how loved I was even by unseen beings, and that I should never ever give up on life. She was always reinforcing that to me. And she herself had quite severe depression, actually, a difficult marriage, and she mothered me, and me, little as I was, 6 and 7, till we left for Europe when I was a week or so shy of turning 8. So we were separated for 6 months. But she nurtured me and mothered me, and I nurtured and mothered her too in my strange little ways. When we came back from Germany, my mother and I resumed, of course, my friendship with June and her daughter Lynn, and we picked up where we left off, and then we moved to Melbourne when I was 9, and it was a great wrench for me to be taken away from June, because she really was a mother to me, more than my own mother had ever been capable of. And so I grieved and I missed her terribly the 3.5 years that we lived in Melbourne. My mother even flew me home to Wellington to stay within school holidays one year, because she knew I was grieving that woman and my friend Lynn. She knew I was suffering terribly. So my mother could do kind things, but let's think about it. Why did she really do that? Probably so she could have time on her own with Case without the kid around, am I right? There would have been an ulterior motive that suited her too. Let's not be too Pollyanna about it. But I was so grateful. I think I was 10 or 11 when she flew me home that summer to stay with June and her husband Ewan, who was a very kind man to me. In spite of his alcoholism, he was a very kind man to me. And Lynn, and I was so happy to be with her. But then, of course, I had to go back to Melbourne, and then when I came back, when I was 12 going on 13, Lynn was 4 years older than me, so she was 16, going on 17. She was in a whole different world to me because she was a teenager and dating and busy with her own friends. So then there was a great grief and loss for me again because I thought I was coming home to resume the friendship and the sisterhood with her and be with her and her mother, and then Lynn was absent much of the time. So it was a terrible grief. I can still feel the pain of it to this day. I think it was my first heartbreak, losing that deep connection. And we did resume it as she got a little bit older and I got a little bit older, and when I got married she used to come down, hitchhike on truck with truck drivers from Auckland, and one time I was married and Crystal was a baby, so I was head down, ass up, scrubbing the bath, cleaning the bath, and I heard this voice behind me, "What are you doing?" And it was my friend Lynn. She'd hitchhiked with truck drivers from Auckland, and I'd left my front door open, which we used to do in the old days. We weren't so worried about break-ins and people trying to rape and murder you in your bed kind of thing. And so she'd walked right through and found me head down, ass up, scrubbing the bath. Oh, the joy. It was one of the happiest moments of my life, actually. I love you, Lynn. I don't think she watches my videos, my friend Lynn in New Zealand, but I love you so much. I wanted to come home last year and I'm very tempted to come home this year. I'm just trying to gather a bit more money together because, as always, money is what blocks me from coming home and trying to gather my resources. Very tempted to come home for my birthday, but because I'm a prisoner of the Australian government, I have to give them notice before I leave the country, and that means I can't just do a spontaneous thing like book a plane and come home and surprise you, which is what I want to do really. And the airfares, there's a few cheap airfares, but they're averaging around about $800, which is a big chunk of my money. And anyway, know that you are loved by me no matter what happens, whether I get to come home and see you again before we get too old and die. Not that we're that old. I mean, I'm 60 and she'll be 64 this year, but we're not that old. But I did want to kind of go home and see her again, see Island Bay where I was raised, and go around with her to Red Rocks where we used to go as children. I want to do it. I must make it happen somehow. Don't know how, but I must make it happen. Anyway, I love you, Lynn. I really do. Even though we don't speak, years have gone by, we haven't actually spoken. The love remains no matter what, no matter who. Right, here we go, babies. Let's carry on. I might just get a drink. Some weird metallic taste in my throat. It's awful. I'll be back one moment. By all the gods, I'm kind of tired. But anyway, There's lots of trucks coming and going because they're building the house behind me 2 doors up. I have to put up with all that noise for bloody 6 months. It's going to grind my gears. But what can you do? It is what it is, people of Earth. Chapter 1. Hidden Knowledge. In times past, there lived in the north a shaman named Nauya. Nauya wanted to shamanize in order to fly to the land of the great tides. Suddenly the drum jumped at Nauya's left big toe and attached its handle there with a firm grip. The drum began droning ominously, its drumhead shuddering. Suddenly it moved forward as if seized by a giant force. While vehemently hissing and rustling violently, it took Nauya high into the air, all the way through the smoke hole and 3 times around the house. He sang in complete ecstasy, still attached to the drum. Nauya flew over the house, surrounded by a shimmering rain of sparks. Nauya's flight to the land of the great tides, Inuit myth. I used to often have dreams of flying as a child. I flew everywhere, or glided. It was amazing. Right, I know I've got disgusting manners. My friend Lynn here, she hates it when I lick my fingers. Well, it is what it is. We've only been friends for 36 years. You should be used to it by now. Anyway. We do love each other, but now that we're old, we're grinding on each other's gears sometimes. The inner and outer travels in the shaman's worlds have been an important part of my life for more than 20 years. I have experienced wonderful things, heard incredible things. I'm going to try and play with this while we do it. Multitask babies. I wonder what's not well. Dear goddess. I tried to understand, explain, and reason it with all my familiar thinking patterns for a long time. But this did not lead me to a real understanding of the living shamanism of indigenous peoples. On one occasion, during a nightly healing ritual at the Rio Negro, It became clear to me that shamanism, in its varied ways, could be distilled into explanatory models. But in reality, there is only one way to really grasp it: by personal, direct experience. Shamanism, probably the most ancient art of structuring the worlds, is a way of experiencing. The art of experiencing is invariably connected with the person who is going through the experience. The cultural and personal heritage, the willingness and candour in letting oneself go with the flow of the spiritual life principles of the shamanistic culture determine the profundity of the experience. Although each ethnic group living with a shamanistic worldview has a unique shamanistic practice, all share, along with the shamanistic cultures of the past, the same basic worldview. The world structure is anchored in various layers, each with its own structure and life qualities in the under, middle, and upper worlds. The passing of time is experienced as a rhythm of continuous renewal. Everything in existence has a soul and is interwoven with all the visible and the invisible. Likewise, so I just saw some news here which I'm happy about, because we're living under a Nazi regime now, basically. It just says here, ABC Brisbane, Mayor's homeless ban falls flat after police refuse to enforce it. Not a single fine or move on order has been issued to homeless people in Brisbane, 1 week after Brisbane City Council declared it would evict campers from its parks. A council spokesperson says they had verbally told 4 people to leave, but had issued 0 written compliance notices or penalty infringements. So I've been pretty upset about the treatment of our homeless by the Brisbane City Council and the Moreton Bay Council. It's Nazism in practice, persecuting people who don't have homes, are destitute, very likely unwell as well, living in tents in public parks out of sheer fucking desperation, and they want to persecute them. It's evil, and I'm totally against it for those reasons alone, but also as a second generation survivor of, Nazi Germany. My mother lived through World War II in Germany, and my de facto stepfather survived Mittelbau-Dora, which was a concentration camp where slaves were taken as slaves. Case was dragged from his bed actually on his mother's birthday, the 25th of November, and put on a train and sent to Mittelbau as a slave labourer. That's how they got their workers for the V1 and V2 rockets that were used to blitz London under the auspices of Werner von Braun, who was the commandant of that camp. And evil it was, what was done to those men and boys. I suppose a few women that might have been in that camp too. Evil, most worst evil. So I know the history of what happens when you other people, and the first to go are always the poor, the marginalised, the disenfranchised. Just like my neighbours putting that box trailer, tying it in front of the pole in front of my house because I'm old, I don't have a partner, I'm on a pension, I live in housing commission, and I'm a witch, so I'm deemed as worthy of, my life's not as precious and worth as theirs. I was the first to be targeted in the neighbourhood because I live alone and I'm old and I'm poor. I'm one step up from the homeless graduate gradient, but not much. I do have a home, but targeted yet again in a climate emergency. It's always the women on their own at the edge of society are the first to get killed off, by the way. There's been a long history of that. Not that long ago, 500 years ago, the burning times. Just remember that, people of Earth, why I go completely rank every now and then when I see these behaviours, this toxic, evil, disgusting, Nazi behaviours on the part of our councils. It's dangerous, it's white privileged, and it's evil. Right. Now, end of rant. That was a long bloody segue there, but I'm in fighting form today. Anyway, we'll carry on. I don't know why I got distracted. I heard a beep, so I thought there was a message coming through, but it wasn't. Just some news about the homeless, which was appropriate, so we could have this little discussion on why it's wrong to treat homeless people like that. They're human beings, and they deserve a nice home to live in too. And if they can't be given a nice home by their government, they should be allowed to camp in the parklands wherever they can live. Just not ideal accommodation, living in a tent in the heat of summer and in the cold of winter, by the way. But it's all they've got, and now they're being told to move on because, you know, they don't want to have to look at the poor people. It's outrageous. Right, where were we? Everything in existence has a soul and is interwoven with all the visible and the invisible. Likewise, humans are also part of this living, ever-renewing and recreating fabric of life. Give me bloody cold now. I do this. Hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. The keeper and renewer of the community's knowledge and communication with the spiritual worlds is a person who has distinguished him or herself through a special vocation or apprenticeship. This specially gifted person is still called a shaman, male or female, in Western usage, while each of the still living shamanistic peoples has their own words in their language for these exceptionally gifted people. The connection with the spiritual world of ancestors, plants, and elemental forces enables the shaman to work within his or her community, always dealing with the renewal of harmony within the individual and accordingly within the whole community as well. Something I've been struggling with lately, harmonising my own feelings of grief and loss and unrequitedness and unable to find a partner because, well, we all know why, don't we? Falling in love with unavailable men. It's one of my worst insanities and needs to stop actually, but it's too late now. It's going to take time for the love to dissipate and recede, and I'll be fine. I just got to handle it, babies. Handle it. It's no one's fault but mine. Came actually as a bit of a surprise to me too, because, you know, wasn't what I was looking for. Wasn't my life plan. Anyway, I'm going to preserve the friendship as long as, you know, that person wants to preserve the friendship with me, because friends are very precious to me, more precious than having a lover, because lovers historically ended up trying to fucking kill me anyway. It's probably why I do this falling in love with unavailable men thing, to keep myself safe. So it's complicated, and it's not as ridiculous and as silly when you step back and look at the big picture. I kind of consciously and unconsciously deliberately did this to myself, keeping myself safe, and then didn't factor in that it would get more complicated with feelings of jealousy and unworthiness and being tortured again because there's another woman cycling, and it's a repeat pattern of what I had with that dreadlock nitwit Dave years ago, 10 years ago. So I've been wounded and I'm acting as if it's the same scenario, and it probably isn't. Probably I'm overreacting a little bit, just a little bit, but I just have to sit with it and let it recede out of me and carry on with my dance and being joyous and living my best life, because that is the whole point of me going dancing, is my spiritual work and living my best life, because I haven't had much of a fucking life really, all things told. It's been a lot of struggle and trauma and distress and poverty and atrophy and abuse and sadism on the part of former lovers. And I don't ask me why I'm alive. I can't even tell you. So God's demanded it. You know, I'm here. I'm here for my beautiful life at long last, and I'm creating it by making earrings and reading stories to you and being raw and honest about where I'm at in life and how I feel about things. And at the end of the day, you know, it's my stuff and I have to grow through it or grow from it, or ultimately walk away from it if it gets too difficult or too cruel. Anyway, Shamans, right, yes, renewal of harmony within the individual and accordingly within the whole community as well, which I really want. I want us to stay together as a community, because we've built something very unique, our little musical tribe that they included me into, which was sweet and kind and loving, a very loving act, people of earth. So I want to hold us all together and keep us all precious, but ultimately it comes down to free will and open communication with me, being real with me, and including me if they want me in as part of their will, being inclusive of me. And I don't know, there's been a lot of stress on all of us in recent months and a lot of changes, so it's kind of an unravelling. And Mama T, last one on, last one off, am I right? The witch always gets discarded because she's a problem. She speaks her truth and she holds her own, and she's wild and she's fierce and a bit fucking frightening at times. And she's defiant. She says, no, 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 I won't be forced to. inculcate some other woman into my nightmare that I don't invite, that I didn't choose. Don't force your lovers onto me, people of Earth. Dave used to do that, and it's ugly, really ugly. I choose people I want to be friends with. I choose my own lovers too. Haven't taken a lover in 10 years, but when I do, it will be of my choosing. Anyway, end of rant. They know how I feel about this because I've spoken about this in other videos. So, and I love you all. I'm not angry with you really. I'm just aware of the spiralling. And I've taken a bit of an emotional hit. It's been a lot this year. We're only into bloody 21st of March. It's a terrifying thought, isn't it? Well, anyway, in a few weeks' time it'll be my birthday. My work now will be soldiering ahead, continuing with living my best life with harm to none, competition with none, doing my wild dance and expressing my creativity and being open to the multiverse for the right person who truly loves me to choose me of their own free will, body, mind, spirit. Soul belongs to God, but intellect and emotions, a good, kind, noble, supportive, loving man who has my back, my front and my sides and enjoys and delights in my company, communicates with me. He's a wonderful lover too. Let's ask for it all. Oh, and must be generous too. Generous of spirit and generous of thought and mind and soul. And, just maintain friendships with those who are good and loving friends and let the rest just, the mirage, the illusion, just gently let go and fade away without acrimony or unpleasantness, because we've loved each other for a very long time. I've been involved in the Brisbane music scene, 14 years. We've loved each other. Real love based on mutual admiration and respect. So, friendships like that, forged over time, ideally should be cherished and nourished and nurtured and preserved, but it's got to go both ways. I'm not going to do all the emotional labour. I'm not. I don't have the energy for it. I'm not married to any of you. I'm a free, wild spirit and a shaman, and I have the company of my gods and my angels and the fae any given time. So when humans want to be cruel, won't wash with me, babies. Just won't wash. I've already lived that way for decades. It's not what I want out of life. I want joy and delight, childlike wonder and solid, stable, nurturing, honouring friendships. One day a partner that can be all those things too. Right, moving on with the story, people of Earth. Shamans regulate the relations between worlds, realities, and their expressions in life through their ways of communicating with visible and invisible forces. This ability is based on the mastery of deliberately shifting through consciousness and worlds independent of our concepts of time and space, apart from the ego. The modern reality of our Western society is miles away from this life-determining concept of shamanism. And still, or because of this, the experiential knowledge of shamanism is increasingly drawing the attention of the medical professions, psychologists, therapists, artists, and spiritual seekers. The occasions for this growing interest are manifold, but at the same time, it boils down to one universal focus: the desire for a renewed contact with the original spiritual and cultural roots, the wish to reconnect with the knowing of the elders, in which we do not standing apart from the universal life force, but participate in the bigger whole. That's what I mean. It's like, think of it like the Three Musketeers. I'm for you and you for me, all for one, one for all kind of mentality. Community, inclusivity, togetherness, with honour and respect for all our unique spiritual walks, religious creeds, paths, and humanness and talents and attributes and gifts. This timeless knowing of the elders is based on the understanding that all that is, visible or invisible, is related and is affecting one another. Just for a moment, babies, I'm just what's going on here in a moment. Odd. Ah, I see. Right. As a guest in communities that still keep this knowing of the elders alive, I have heard incredible things in nightly storytelling circles about shamans who were able to live underwater, could change into animals, were able to travel in the world of the dead. Heal the sick with their songs, and still many more miracles. To be all ears entails an imaging listening which does not only involve the ear, but is an experience through all senses. What I say earlier about being fully present, which I'm struggling with, as you can see, drifting here, there and everywhere. So, come back, psychedelic dreamer. You're reading to your YouTube audience, and they're your priority right now. Discipline. Have some discipline, Tanya. Okay, telling myself off now. Listening brings both a premonition through all senses. Listening where did I get that from? Sorry, let me start that sentence again. Listening brings both a premonition and an awakening of body memories that have always been there. This way, from the incredible, no faith but a knowing arises. The experience of the living shamanistic knowing in indigenous cultures of South America helped me change and refine my filters of perception. I followed a rising passion and curiosity to search for correlations with this knowing of the elders in our European cultures. Equipped with this new lens of conception, directed inwardly and outwardly, I discovered, in addition to references to early shamanistically oriented European cultures and archaeological findings, still living roots of these primeval times in the ancient heritage of fairy tales, covered with layers of dust from the ages, and banished, for the main part, to the nursery room. Some wind has blown through the dust, some adjustment was needed in the filters of perception. And see how, in the amply filled pot of fairy tales, many stars are twinkling with the knowledge about the reality behind the real world, the other world, and the world behind, above, or beneath the world. Shamanistic wisdom doesn't lie behind every fairy tale, but the magic stick in some fairy tales, even today, stands for the well-known shaman staff, which I made a fabulous staff. Can you see it? On the back wall there. I made a couple actually. It's very heavy, that staff. I've made it. It's so bloody heavy. On Halloween I'll walk around the neighbourhood with it, and it's not easy to manoeuvre, I tell you. I might have to put a little wheel on the bottom. That would look weird. What are you doing, Tanya? Dragging your staff, your shaman staff on a wheel? I'm a modern shaman and I'm practical. But yes, it's a heavy piece. The sleep of the fairy tale hero can refer to an extraordinary state of consciousness, a clairvoyant sleep enabling a meeting with beings from the other side. Hidden behind this is the knowledge that a voyage of the soul is possible, acquiring experiences that may lead to solving questions of the waking reality. The helpful animals in fairy tales can indicate the spiritual animal helpers of the shamans. Human metamorphosis into an animal points to the gift of the shamans, transmogrification. The motive of transformation, maturing by way of dying and reviving, which I've done 15 times in this body already. Bit exhausted from that, quite frankly, is a way of describing the core of shamanistic aspiration, the ritual death as transformation process. As I said to my psychiatrist on Wednesday, every near-death I've had since childhood, infancy, I've come back with a different attribute or gift. Not necessarily for the long term, but definitely some life-altering, unexpected ability. And it's been a bit astonishing at times. Amid the rich field of the spiritual heritage of fairy tales, I would like to awaken the curiosity, the researcher's mind, and the joy in those who are interested in shamanism and are searching for traces of the more or less hidden knowledge of the shamanistic heritage in order to be touched by it. Fairy tales and myths are carriers of knowledge about correlations with structural frameworks of life philosophies through all ages since the beginning of language. For a long time, clever researchers of fairy tales have been able to read, decipher, and structure this information. One of these researchers, who devoted himself especially to finding correlations between fairy tales and shamanism, is Heino Gertz in Germany. About the shamanistic contents of our fairy tales, he wonders if the narrators of these fairy tales were aware of the fact that they contain hidden meanings, and how long did they know it? See, I'm going to have to tweak that one. Tweak it. He deduces that they knew it, as long as there still remained a consciousness of the second reality beyond their own, of this fairy tale world that is real to the shaman in his soul flight. This leads to the conclusion that our fairy tales were understood in their essence up to the day when the last witch was burned. And that was not so very long ago, only about 200 years ago actually. The especially good stories do not supply intellectual information to the listener or reader. They primarily appeal to his or her senses and emotions. Stories, in whatever way they are presented to us as myths, fairy tales, legends, or folk stories, are interwoven into the listener's actual reality through the oral legend. Good stories are more than just entertainment. For the listener, they open doors to a congruent atmosphere for co-experiencing that may lead to personal scopes of experience. The terms fantasy and imagining become less important when, during the listening process, there is a close encounter with the person's own reality. Touching the versatility of the personal reality by means of stories not only causes the hero or heroine to jump into other worlds, the emotional touch of the narrated happening has the power to make the reader or listener become part of the ever newly fantasized flying carpet of a complete reality. Neither analysis of the story nor characterizing it as a shamanistic fairy tale will do this. He found himself in a giant hall with ceiling, floor, and walls lavishly painted with animals, birds, and peculiar signs. There were images of mysterious beings he had never seen. Stories were told in colourful images. Fantastic signs were glittering in all the colours of the rainbow. All these images tell about the past. They are speaking to you, said the old sage. They are telling your story, the story of your ancestors. Very disappointed that won't sit right. Number 2. I'll fix it. I'll find a way to fix it, people are there. Memorize them well. Pass them on to your children so they may learn from the stories of the ancestors. Watch the sun because it gives you the power of life. Preserve the sea and you will never suffer from scarcity. Now go down to the village and tell what you have seen. which the reference comes from Christoph Heil, Der Zauber des Zypressen, Märchen und Mythen aus Mallorca, Berlin Edition Orient 1992. Experiences have to be told because, by word of mouth and the absorbing senses of the listeners, the world and its history will be created again and again, which is why I do these videos preserving my experiential awareness, my trauma processing, my magic, my spirituality, my womanliness, my journey through this medicine wheel, through this planet, my debriefings after my wild dances, my dreams and aspirations, even put my wishes and manifestations into these videos. It's all a complete picture, and if you know how to analyze it and decipher it, you can work out that I'm actually quite magically manifesting my beautiful life, sometimes having to let go of the old, slough off things that don't serve me, painful though that may be, other times fiercely, determinedly holding on, wondering if it's the right course of action sometimes. But all will be revealed in time. It always is. Truth will always come out, people of Earth. It would be kinder if I was communicated with openly and honestly and honouringly, and not left to second guess all the fucking time. But if that's how people wish to behave towards me, that's on them. It's their stuff, and I just carry on with my walk with the gods. This does not only happen in concepts like dreamtime and faraway cultures, but also in the middle of a high-tech society like ours. New realities can arise from old roots. Right, we're 1.5 hours in, but I think we've got a bit of time for the next tale or two, because they're quite short. Tales of the First Shamans. In an infinite void I set out for a journey without distance. On my way from star to star, on heavenly tracks, I meet the higher power. I fill my hand with stardust. I touch the edge of the moon. I return to the earth on the green meadow. The powers of the heavenly spheres will rush in and help me. Song of a Shaman of the Chuks from Yuri Richchiu. I don't know how to pronounce that. Der letzte Shamana, the last shaman. All statements about a culture creating human activity and about the spiritual world behind this thing called culture are but guesses. These presumptions have constantly changed over the course of history, according to the research of the time and the spiritual attitude of those who did the research. Looking at life today in the very few existing original indigenous communities doesn't give us any better clues concerning the origin of human community life. Would we understand more about the origin of our humanity if we could exactly date and classify the first shaman? The old myths and stories about the acts of special people, the divinely inspired, can permeate and connect us with the time behind the boundaries of our own lives with those deeds. This inner connection enables us to consciously enter the unique personal experience of the reality of a multiverse. Also, pictures and carvings of people who, according to what they tell us, were divinely inspired, such as the Birdman of Lascaux, or images of the world and shapeshifter Odin with his 2 ravens on Scandinavian image stones, tell stories that let us drink from the well of memory of the spiritual worlds and our ancestors' knowledge. In almost all stories and images that speak of the first shamans, the shape of the bird as messenger of the shape-shifting and shamanistic flying ability plays an important role. Even now, the feather shaman crown in shamanistic communities stands for the ability of the bearer to magically fly. In some cultures, feathered ritual vestments of the shamans resemble birds' clothes as a visual expression of the ability to move to and fro among all cosmic spheres at will, from life to death and vice versa. The Swan Woman as ancestor mother of the shamans. In the Far East, in the land of Korin Bojatis, there once lived a young man named Tankal Singh. One day, Tankal Singh heard the wing flap of a big bird above his dwelling place, and he saw 5 swans flying across the sky to alight on the nearby lake. At first he thought, those are migrating birds heading north. Then curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to take a closer look at these birds. He went to the lake, crept unnoticed toward the birds, and hid behind a shrub. There, Tankal Singh saw that they were not really migrating birds, but 5 most beautiful maidens who had taken off their swan gowns in order to take a bath. He waited for the right moment, snatched away one of the blossom white feather gowns, and hid behind the bush. After the maidens were done with their bath, they all went to the water's edge, put on their gowns, and immediately transformed again into swans. But one girl was without her gown and was looking desperately for it. She could not find it anywhere and started crying bitter tears. She called out, "Whoever took my gown, just give it back to me." For without her blossom white feather gown, she could not fly. The 4 other swan girls hurried to take off and flew away, but the 5th swan girl remained behind, naked, on the lakeside. Again the swan girl cried out, "Whoever took my gift, just give it back to me. He may ask of me whatever it may be. I will give it to him." At this, Tankal Singh came into sight from behind the bush and told her that he was the one who took her clothing. He brought her the underwear, but kept the white bird gown. Then he proposed, "Become my wife." In her distress, she finally agreed and followed Tankal Singh to his dwelling place. He hid the swan gown in an iron-bound chest and locked it tight. She was a good wife to her man and gave birth to 5 sons and 5 daughters. Not only was she a good wife, she was a clever woman too. One day the Swan Woman said to her husband, "Husband, I have been your wife such a long time, and I gave birth to so many children. Come, bring tarosun, we will drink to that." The man prepared the milk brandy, and they started drinking. Then the woman said to Tankal Singh, "So many years we have lived together, so many kids we have. Now you may easily show me my swan gown that you took from me long ago, for now I shall never fly away." Tankal Singh had already drunk much tarosun, so he went to the chest, opened it, and gave her the swan gown. They both became boisterous and drank more tarosun. They were sitting in the yurt, a round felt tent. In the centre of the yurt there were 3 big stones where the keys in the distillery were kept. Suddenly the woman put on her swan gown, cried 3 times in her swan's voice, "Goo! Goo! Goo!" took off and flew up through the yurt's smoke hole and disappeared. The man and the children ran out of the yurt. The Swan Woman flew around in circles above the yurt and called, "My children, my daughters, become shaman women. My sons, become shamans." And then she flew away. Her children became the first shamans. They started shamanism. They were very mighty shamans. They were able to fly, could become invisible, and split up their bodies and cut off their heads without dying. Our first shamans were extraordinary, powerful shamans. Burjatis, Siberia. The Burjatis of the southern part of East Siberia belong to the Mongolian nomad peoples of northern Asia. Today there are some 300,000 Burjatis left, and they have a distinct ethnic consciousness. They believe that the ghosts have appointed the shaman, Buo or Bo, who, through their heavenly ancestry, must have shaman powers at their disposal. According to the Burjatis, the shaman's animal protector is called Gchubulgan, which means shape-shifting or transformation. All over the world there are stories about marriage between a human and a bird. Some northern Asiatic peoples, some northern Asiatic peoples consider the swan to be a totem animal and a bringer of culture. The Ainu also have worshipped the singing swan for ages because it was a female swan that guarded her people from extinction. This swan saved the last Ainu from the disturbances of war and bore him many children who were considered to be the ancestors of today's Ainu. In the Scandinavian world of sages, the godmother Freya possesses a swan gown. How the Raven Children Became Shamans. Once upon a time, in the most northern part of Siberia, there lived a little girl who was beautiful beyond words. The girl was aware of her magical beauty and proudly turned down every proposal from the boys in her region. She married not one of them. I wonder why. She obviously didn't fancy any of them, found them not quite worthy. It's a bit like that when you're a shaman. You can't suffer fools. You really can't, you know. It grinds on your gears after a while. I was telling my cleaning lady, Rati, who's kind of a friend to me as well, about my marriage, about my husband. I tell her lots of funny little anecdotes. And I said the marriage was well and truly over, but I was staying in there, you know, for the sake of my children, not wanting them to have a broken home and lose our home and every material things that ultimately don't matter, actually. Meaningless when you're miserable every day with an asshole. But anyway, I was trying to hold it together, but my husband was doing all sorts of these mad little tricks to try and actually drive me away or send me insane, both. My mother used to gaslight and victim blame and shame me and align with him. And so one of his things was a very tall, big man, very big, fat, wide, big man, 6'3". And so one of his tricks was he would come up behind me, you know, where I was standing, wherever I might be standing, in the kitchen, or the living room, wherever I was. And he would come up behind me and he'd stand really close behind me. And he would sigh. This horrible droning voice. And I would feel his breath down the back of my neck. And then he would giggle. He thought that was funny. Well, it might have been funny the first time or the second time, the third time he did it, but after a while it ground on my gears. Had all this, that was just one thing. One thing. There was quite a few things he did that were quite nasty, actually. But anyway, so it got to the stage where I couldn't take it anymore. So I said, can you just not breathe next to me? I'm sick of your shit. Don't even breathe next to me. So he used to always run to my mother with everything and complain about me to my mother. And, you know, well, they were in collusion. They were really, it was sick and evil what they did to me, actually. It started from the beginning of the marriage. I should have left very early in the piece, but foolishly I didn't. I went on and had 2 children with that idiot. But anyway, so he runs to my mother and he tells her, Tanya's telling me that I shouldn't breathe. She wants me dead. She wants me dead. I didn't actually want him dead, although it might have not been such a bad thing, to be honest, because he really was a fucking arsehole. He did almost die passing a kidney stone, which would have technically been my fault because I didn't call an ambulance. Because I just heard him moaning upstairs. I was downstairs ironing and I just thought he was moaning, because he moaned constantly about everything and anything. Didn't even articulate in words. He would just grunt or moan, and it was like living with an animal. It really was. Except animals can be enchanting and endearing, and you can be quite fond of them, and you don't mind when they moan and non-verbal because they're animals. This is a grown fucking man in his 40s, you know, 40 when separating. Anyway, so it was kind of fucked, people of Earth. It's why if you want to woo me and stimulate me and get me excited, communicate with me in actual words and articulate full sentences and hell, paragraphs, entire pages. Communicate with me. That turns me on, people of Earth, because of my marriage, living with a monosyllabic, Neolithic, knuckle-dragging, troglodyte grunter. Yes, I'm still going on about it, and I've been out of that marriage for 30 years. That's how awful it was, people of Earth. So anyway, so I was telling Righty how he used to, literally like, that was down the back of my neck. Even Righty kind of looked at me and went, surprised. And I said, and so he complained to my mother. So my mother comes to me, she says, you can't tell your husband not to breathe near you. I said, I can tell him whatever I bloody well like. I said, it's annoying. I said, he does it constantly. He had another little thing he used to do. But that was kind of funny, but it was very annoying too. He'd get a thread of cotton, like a long thread of sewing cotton, and he'd put it in his mouth and he'd suck on it and lick on it and chew it and slather all over it. Oh, he really was an idiot. But I kind of have to laugh about that one because it was kind of weird. And then I'd be lying sleeping because I slept constantly to avoid him. Also, I was severely depressed and traumatized. But, so I'd be lying there sleeping. And so to wake me up, the sleeping princess, the woman that was avoiding him because he was a dead fucking shit. And he was a good provider, let's be fair here, but in every other aspect, he was just a dead shit. Couldn't talk to it, had separate blankets, wouldn't even sleep properly with me. Sex was very, very quick, let's just put it that way, made no effort, it's just awful beyond words. There was no real intimacy, there was no affection, and there was not even a fucking conversation except for or but wouldn't you, 10 and a half years, 12 years with that person, get sick of it? Any normal woman of any creed or culture or anywhere, wouldn't you get sick of being treated like that? But anyway, here's the thing with the cotton, right? So I'd be sleeping, minding my own business, in the other worlds, being with my spirit people who were helping me survive that marriage, by the way. And I'd feel this slimy thing like a worm being dropped into the inside of my ear. And it would smell of his spit because he was my intimate sexual partner because he's my husband, so I know the smell of his spit well. And I'd be like, ugh! And I'd wake up and he'd be like, ah! And I'd be like, what am I married to? It's not even a child. It's just some kind of fucking non-human, soul-ridden, dibbock-ridden fucking demon. And what are you doing? What are you doing, Michael? Oh, I knew they would wake you up. Well, you could have just said, can you wake up, please, Tanya? I need to talk to you about something. Why are you waking me up for? What do you want to talk to me about? Oh, I just wanted to wake you up, just because I can. And then he'd wander off. So he'd wake me up with a stupid little schoolboy prank for no reason, not even wanting any actual engagement or interaction, just to be a pain in my ass, right? But I still laugh about that because that was kind of funny. But anyway, I'm just segueing here. We'll get back to the story. Where were we, people of Earth? Oh, that's right. She didn't want to marry any one of them, and I get it. I never married again. I might have liked to have married someone. I found someone genuine and loving and supportive and caring and strong enough to stand by my side with pride and happiness and dignity and honour and treat me like a queen. I've had a taste of it with my beautiful men friends and the bands and my music scene. They've all, in the last 2 years, have really treated me like a queen, let me have my wild dance in the club and make a goddamn fool of myself, and they've nurtured me along and they've been quite wonderful. So I kind of have had a taste of what that feels like. So naturally I got a little bit excited and carried away, emotionally. Because I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if I had a man of my own to treat me like that could actually live with me and be my partner and treat me with kindness and sweetness. And playfulness, but not nasty little stupid infantile pranks, but actually, we can have fun together and dance together and play music together or read poetry. I mean, I can't play music. I can sort of plunk at the ukulele a bit. But, read poetry or write songs together or read stories to each other or just delight in each other's company. Be a family to each other, a couple, a loving couple. Anyway, so it's grinding my gears, people, there, because it's not tenable, all a bit silly, really. Anyway, we carry on with the story. It's not actually all that silly. It could happen if I meet someone that wants me, and is intelligent and funny and loving and a wonderful lover as well, because I don't want a repeat performance of what I had with my ex-husband. In fact, all the other lovers I took in the ensuing decades, there weren't many, but the ones I did, not one of them was as selfish and awful as my ex-husband was. Yuck. Anyway, so there is that. But I've lived a celibate asexual lifestyle for on and off 2 decades. This run, it's been 10 years. Because I just don't want to let anyone in my body, mind and spirit who's false ever again. The last lover from 10 years ago completely broke me and partially contributed to my suicide attempt, which ultimately was a wonderful gift because the gods sent me back here to earth and made me reclaim my life. And it's taken me 10 years to rebuild and reclaim my life, but here I am, babies. I worked 15 hours yesterday on these, and it was intense, and I was soul innervated, and it was almost a fugue state. Even Rati kind of observed and noticed that I was in a very heightened, innervated state. But it teaches me that my God's preparing me for the one, my one, who loves me and will support me in my life goals and creativity, and I'll support him in his life goals and creativity or business or whatever, whoever this person ends up being, because obviously I haven't met him yet. So I just hope that, if I take a lover again, that it's someone kind and not life-threatening or rapey like I had in the past. Just saying, because that was too fucking much. Anyway, we continue on with the story. One morning, the beautiful girl went out to look for a herd of runaway mares. Then, from the east, on a spotless white horse, came a man who she never had seen before. When he stood in front of her on his milk-white horse, he rode once around her and asked, "What brings you this way?" "I am on my way to find the mares and drive them back home." "I saw your mares. They are not far from here. You can still see them from here." The strange man dismounted his white, spotless horse and said to the beautiful girl, "Come, let us sit down here and chat about this and that. Say, are you already married?" The girl spread out the skin of a dappled horse, and both sat down on it. The girl answered, "No, I have no husband. But why do you ask?" "Well, it happens that I am not married either, and have not been married before." "Would you perhaps want to marry me?" It's a bit quick, isn't it? They've barely spoken to each other. Oh well, it's how they did things in the old days. Why not? If my mother and my father agree, I agree as well. The beautiful girl pleased the stranger very much, and the stranger pleased the beautiful girl. And because both of them had the same desire, they lost themselves in their love game. That means exactly what it sounds like, people. Just saying. Afterwards the man asked, "Since you have given yourself so easily to me, who do you think I am? That I am somebody from another neighbourhood? Or do you know me?" "No, I do not know you, but you just told me that you want to marry me, right?" "Yes, that is what I said, but I will not marry you. I will return to my homeland. My homeland is the upper world. I am the firstborn son of the Chara Surum, the Lord of the upper world. I descended from there only because I heard your name. I have given you 2 beautiful sons who will see neither death nor illness until a fixed point in time. From today, at the beginning of the 11th month, you will give birth." It's interesting because I had a 44-week gestation with Jasmine. 11 months. It's insane, isn't it? She was that overdue. When she popped out, she looked like a wrinkled little old prune. And then one of the midwives tried to say she was premature. I said, "Are you out of your mind? The skin is peeling off in sheets. She's so over bloody cooked." They looked at me. Left me way too long with that pregnancy, quite frankly. Had to be induced in the end. Oh dear goddess. She came out looking like a little miniature Harry Aarons, my father-in-law, her grandfather. Except instead of grey hair, she had jet black hair, and his nose, his features, all in miniature. And I loved her. A sweet little baby girl. My husband took one look at her, first seeing her, got such a shock that she looked exactly like his father, who had died not long before, that he burst into tears. And I kind of understood. It was a bit shocking. I was shocked when I saw black hair coming out of me. For some reason, I never thought that I would give birth to a baby with dark hair. Which is kind of silly, given my husband was dark and swarthy, and, Polish Jewish. But anyway, this little baby came out of me. I named her Jasmine Ariel Aarons. Ariella, but Michael the Root, although I changed my name to Root Tanya after one of my near deaths. It's a very Kabbalistic thing to do, to add a name back, add a new name after you've had a close shave with death, and I decided to reclaim my birth name as my Hebrew name because in Kabbalah the Tanya is a very famous spiritual text, quite a misogynistic one actually, to be honest. But anyway, so my Hebrew name is Ruth Tanya Avraham Sarah. But I haven't set foot in a temple in quite some years now, so it's a name and name only now. Doesn't get called to the bima for aliyot. I don't get to say the blessings. No one says a mishaberach over me, although there were many mishaberachs. Or they used to pray over me constantly because they knew deep down back then I'd had a hell of a life and I was struggling. And they weren't being condescending and evil. They were mishaberaching me and blessing me. The Lord let his face shine upon you. The Lord gift you peace. Well, he has gifted me peace, but it's come very late in life, at almost 60. And it's a peace that must come from within, because I'm not safe without the box trailer and the cyclone. It's just one fine example in recent memory. For the love of all the gods, targeting the Jewish witch shaman. More for them, more for them. There will be retribution from the gods. Trust me on that one. Anyway, I only have to let go and let love, because it's not in my control. Targeting women living alone, struggling in poverty, in the fringes of society, in a climate. I mean, you almost have to laugh. Such typical human nature, though. Such typical human nature. My little Rati said to me yesterday, "You're still angry with those people, Tanya?" I said, "Yes, and I will remain so for quite some time." She nodded. Putting me in harm's way when I was already vulnerable. Anyway, this is another reason why no man can take me on, because they can't deal with my furies and my magic and my natural justice and my relationship with my gods. And on the other hand, they get all turned on because they know I'm a hot little firecracker when I get going, and other avenues as well, people of earth. But I had to lock that down and tamp it down, because having sex with men was not safe for me, not soul nourishing at all, because they were just users and losers and abusers. So there was no point. Why would you bother? You wouldn't even bother changing your knickers for most of those bloody men. Ugh. I tell you what I did do recently. I bought myself some lovely new bras. Oh, gorgeous they are. Now I kind of need to get some kind of matching knickers and matching colours so that they look like they're sets. But anyway, I needed new bras. I was running around looking like an old homeless person, which is terrible. No one should have to walk around looking like that. No judgment, because I want my homeless people looked after and provided for and given homes. But you know what I'm saying, when you're that, your underwear's that ratty-tatty, you're like, oh, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, I'll be bloody embarrassed. It's time to update myself. I must get all my corsets dry cleaned. I've wanted to do that for a couple of months. Tempted to buy a new corset too. It's time for a new one. But anyway, we'll see. We will see what Mama T, how she can stretch her finances. Miracles happen sometimes. Anyway, where were we? Yes, the 11th month you will give birth. When the moment comes, you will go to the small river with the name so-and-so. There, below a steep tongue of land, in the heart of a dense forest, you will notice a meadow with a little lake. On this meadow, there is a tree with tree trunks, a larch. Lay yourself down on your dappled pelt, because it is there that you will give birth. Well, that will ruin the beautiful pelt though, all that blood and waters and... Ooh. Anyway, sorry, but I'm a mother, I know how these things go. You will bring 2 black raven children into the world. Just after birth, they will shriek their raven's cries, fly away, and sit on the big lower branches of the larch. Then you will have to circle the tree 3 times, and while doing this, you will hit the tree with your dress. This will cause the ravens to fall face down on the skin you set down. Wrap up your raven children in the skin, bind it with a dappled hair ribbon, and hang this bundle in your yurt at the end of the lower wall-aligning beam. The raven youngsters will change into lads after just 3 days. They will cry like human babies. When the firstborn boy reaches 41, he will become a shaman. It's usually around 40 when people come into their full spiritual powers. He will be able to fling a mother elk with her young ones into the air. The younger lad will also be a shaman in his 40th year. He will become a mighty shaman as well, and he will be able to make a haystack of 10 arms length fly through the sky. After having said this, the man from the upper world disappeared. The beautiful girl was not able to recall how he had left. Everything happened like the spirit from the upper world had said. The beautiful girl gave birth to 2 raven youngsters who shapeshifted and became powerful shamans, exactly like their father had predicted. Yakuts, Siberia. The Yakuts belong to the Altaic Turks and call themselves Zasha. At present, approximately 200,000 Yakuts still live. Because they live in an area with rich mineral ore, they have been exploited consistently for ages, and their shamans were persecuted. A male shaman is called Ojun, a female Udagan. For approximately 20 years, the Yakuts have finally been able to have, after a long ban on shamanism, their summer celebrations with the whole community, including the traditional offering ritual under the leadership of a white shaman, an Aji Ajutara. Right, on that note, people of Earth, we're up to chapter 3, and we'll continue tomorrow. I had lots of segues today, good, bad or indifferent, and I'm tired now. I'm going to have a rest, and yes, I think I'll have a bit of a rest and I'll decide. But later on, it's an early gig this evening, it's at 7:30, so I have to decide in the next couple of hours if I'm going along or not. Which, knowing my spirit, I think I am going to go. But it just depends on how weary I am, and I need to preserve my energy and honour my own needs and willpower and magic. So Goddess bless, people of Earth. The time is now 12:51 p.m. on the 21st of March 2025. Wherever you are, isn't it weird the earring started facing forward properly and behaving itself? It's a bit odd. Wherever you are in the space-time continuum, be happy, be blessed, be with your true beloved ones, family, friends, spouses or partners. Live your very best life. And remember, as always, to never ever let the bastards grind you, me, us down. I love you all. Peace. Shalom.